Going over a question here, this is module 12.2, one of the exam prep questions. It's just the first WACC one I found. The company is Robert Mitchum Tollway, so just try and find that one. This is going to flow on from the collaborate I recorded the other night for assessment 1C. About 45 minutes in, I go over a question which is in module 9.5 in great detail. So first watch that one, understand that, and then what I'm going to do here is work on the knowledge I gained in that collaborate on how to do WACC and apply it here. So what I've done here is just started a table. Now in an exam, whether you're doing the paper or online, you won't be given a table and you won't be told what's in it or the headings or anything like that. So you will have to understand what that is. Now I do need to add another row into that. So what we've got, WACC is looking at both our debt and equity, so it's looking at the weighted average cost of capital, both of those. So we're going to build it in the table way. I wonder, I might show you. This is the formula, equity over V times by RE plus D over V, which is debt over V, which I'll show you is the sum of the market value of both debt and equity times by RD. But if you watch the collaborate, you should probably know this by now, this whole formula, and then 1 minus T. Oh, well, that's not a 1, is it? Okay, so this is our debt portion, this is our equity portion, this is our debt portion. Tax is only applied to debts, that's important to know. It does tell us in the question that there's a company tax rate of 30%, that's only ever applied to debt, never to equity. Because if you think about in a tax return, you can get tax deductions for your mortgage, but you can't get it for anything equity-wise. EV, you'll see which here in the table, this is what we're going to pre-fill. So this table is going to basically complete this WACC equation for us, but in a much more simplistic way because there's so many calculations within it. So the first column here is called market value. Here we're going to have a debt. We're going to have our debt. So there are 2 debts and there are 2 equities in here, but we'll read over the question first in a minute. I just want to set everything up. And this is going to be our total. So total here, this one here is going to be our V in the formula. So E over V, so that's our equity over value. So that will create a percentage of our weight over here, which is a percentage. And the same with D over V, you see over here, this is our debt over the total value, which is the sum of the market value. Weight will always equal 100% because it's a percentage of whatever debt it is over the value. I'm just going to leave that there for here. And then here we have the cost of debt slash equity, which RE, down here in our equation, RE is the cost of equity, RD is the cost of debt. So you'll see as I talk through what this actually is, and this here is your WACC. So what the WACC is made up of is the weight times by the cost, okay? So that's what WACC is here, and then here, so what I'm going to do, if these two, I'm just going to fill these. Now I'm using Mac. I should know how to do it, but I'm a little bit slower. I don't want to do that. I just wanted to fill in. Alright, I don't know how to do it. See if I can just do that. Okay, that didn't work. Anyway, I was just going to say in this column here, in this cell here and this cell here, we're going to have to do totals. So we'll get to that. Okay, so now I've set everything up. In the exam, you don't need to write out this equation, just this table will do. I just really want to explain the equation and how it works into this table. So market value is basically our E, our D, and our V. That's our cost of debt and equity, so that is RE, and then RD, and then this is our WACC here. Okay, so let's have a look at this question. I'm not going to read the top part because it's irrelevant, doesn't really matter, it's just a bunch of information. So this is our balance sheet. So a tip, what I like to do is always read the required first, figure out what I have to do, and then I can go in and start working through it. So what we have is we've got ordinary shares, so that's equity, $2 each, fully paid, 20 million. So what I can do now is I'm already starting to think about, I've built this table and what do I need to do this. So here I know I have to do some calculations for the market value because you'll see in a minute, but what I might do is I might go ord shares, and I might think about the volume. So I've got 20 million and I've got $2 each, so I might go, units equals 20 million divided by 2 equals 10 million units, okay? So I'm just trying to, as I read it, work through and figure out what I need to do. Preference shares, again, I can do the same thing. Preference shares units, it is worth 10 mil divided by, they are current on the balance sheet here, they are $2, so that means I have 5 mil units. Now I made a mistake here, that's not a dollar sign there. So here we're just calculating our volume. So ordinary shares, issue price of $2, fully paid at 20 million, so that means I've got 10 million units, and they were $2 each. Down here, preference shares of 10%, issue price $2, fully paid of $10 million. So I can already start doing some math. I've got 5 million units. So in an online exam, what I'm writing over here, and here will be the little textbook box underneath the question here. So I can make all these little bits and pieces of writing, because as a marker, if you do make a mistake, I can go back here and see if I can give you part marks. Okay, retained profit, is it equity? No, not in this sense, so we don't include it. So what I might do is write down here, I can start pre-filling what we have, ordinary shares, and here we have preference shares. Okay, so we're already starting to pre-fill what we've got. All right, liabilities, accounts payable. It's not the debt we're looking for. That's obviously account payable. Short term, we're looking for long term, so we can scrap that. Debentures, yep, that definitely is 24 million. So I can start writing over here. This is another one. I will have to do some calculations for, but let's also copy that and put it into our debt section here. Okay, bank overdraft, yep, that is long term. And I'm just going to copy and paste so you can see how I'm pre-filling this here. All right. And so debentures, 24 million, bank overdraft, 8 million, and then provision for long service leave. Is it something that we can use to build a project? No, we're not going to include that. Whilst it is long term, it's not included in the WACC calculation, so ignore that. So there's a lot of additional information we don't need. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we've got this additional information, which is going to be very important. So let's just work through it. So let's work through the first part. So 24,000 debentures. Okay, so we know we have 24,000 units. Okay, and we know that we have, if we look at debentures over here, 24 million. So if we go 20, so that means that each price is worth 24 mil divided by 24,000 units equals $10,000 per debenture. Okay, so as I'm reading, I'm doing this math. So when I come time to actually do the work, I've already done half of the work for myself. So issued with a coupon rate of 6.5%. So what I can then do is figure out what is the payment every year. So payment equals 6.5% of 1K, which equals $65. Sorry. They're maturing 5 years, and similar debentures are currently yielding 10%. So is there any information from that? So I think that's all the information about debentures in the additional information. So what we can do is we can start populating our little table. So what we might do first is try and figure out, we've already done half the work to figure out the market value here. So what we can do is, using our prior knowledge, we can figure out our PV per unit. So what we want to do is grab out a financial calculator, and these are the inputs we're going to do. Now hopefully this is very familiar from very early on in this unit. So we go FV, $1,000, payment 65, N is 5 because it says that they mature in 5 years, and our I, which is our rate, is 10%. Then we go comp PV, which should equal 867.32. Now that is per one debenture is our current present value. Remember, we've got 24,000 units, so what we then need to do is we need to go by 24,000, which should equal, what have we got here? 28,15739. So that should be our total. Let me just check my answers. I took a little photo of them on my phone so I don't make mistakes while I'm talking to you. Yep, that's correct. All right, so there is our market value of our current debentures. So we populate that there. Okay, and then the second part is our cost of capital. So it's saying similar debentures are currently yielding 10%. So it's giving us that 10%. Now remember, in our equation down the bottom, tax is applicable to our debt. So what we need to do is take off the tax of that 10%. So we go, let's go RD, which is our cost, is 10%. Percent times by 1 minus 0.3, which equals, then we've got 7% here. So that's our cost of capital for our debt, 7%. Okay, so that's our debentures done. Now, so we've just dealt with the first line. Then let's go to the second line. The bank overdraft carries an interest rate of 8%. Interest is charged monthly. The moment I hear that, so we have 8% and it's monthly, we need to figure out the effective annual interest rate. Okay, and if we remember, we can use a financial calculator here, but I'm going a bit old school, remembering the formula, which is I over N to the power of N minus 1. So what we do is input that, 1 plus interest rate 0.08 over 12 to the power of 12, then minus 1, and you should get an effective annual interest rate of 8.29%. Okay, so you can use your financial calculator for that. I just did it as a longhand formula. And remember, we've got that 8.29%, but what we want to do is take off that tax rate, so times by 1 minus 0.3, which should equal, sorry, not a dollar sign, 5.81%. Okay, so that's our cost for our bank overdraft. So exactly the same as our debentures, but because we're given that monthly portion, we then need to use EAR to calculate that. So we can then fill that part in. So our market value and our cost of debt or equity section is where our big calculations come into play. Now, in the additional information, there's nothing else saying that the present value of the bank overdrafts change. So pretty easy there. We can just use the 8 million we have there. So let's just input 8 million. Oh, God, my commas. All right, so that's our debt side done. Now we need to move on and do our shares. So let's go ordinary shares. So up here, so we know we already have 10 million units. Now, what it's saying, actually, so it's saying here, the current dividend paid is 16 cents per share. So div equals 16 cents. The dividend is expected to grow indefinitely at 5% per annum. So if we think back to, I can't remember what week it is, but when we're doing all our dividend calculations, whenever we're using our formulas, we always need to increase the past dividend by 5% to get the next dividend. So what we do, next dividend equals 16 cents times by 1.05, which equals, where is my math? 16.8 cents. So that's the next dividend, so we need to do that. So what we're trying to do here, which I should have said beforehand, is figure out the current market value of an individual share, because you'll notice in the additional information it's not given to us. If we read a bit further down, it's giving us the market price down here of the preference shares, but nothing to do with the ordinary shares. So we actually have to calculate that. So if we remember back, our market price equals dividend 1, which is what we just calculated, it's our next dividend, over our rate. So that is, where is it? Ordinary shares is 13%, so expected market return. In the collab, we called it KE. Let's put a little brackets around that. Minus our growth. So if we input that is 0.168 over 0.13, 13% from down here, minus our growth rate of 0.5%. Do the math on that. We should get current market value of $2.10 per share. Okay, now we want to calculate the market value. So remember, we already did those calculation of the volume of units, 10 million times our current market price of 2.1, which equals 21 million. Okay, so lots of math in this, and it's all based on our prior learnings. So this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because you have to remember all of this stuff, and there's no formula sheets. Okay, so that's that portion. So we've calculated that, and it's already telling us in the question that the expected market return is 13%. Do we need to make any adjustments for tax? No, because tax isn't applicable to equity. So super easy one here is 13%. All right, up to preference shares. So we've dealt with that. Risk-free rate is interest is 6%. Cool. Current market price of the preference share is market price is $1.80. And then what we need to do now is we need to then calculate our market volume, which equals 5 mil times by 1.80. Actually, I think I'm missing a step. It's saying the current market price for the preference shares is $1.80. No, I'm not missing a step, sorry. So we're taking the same method where you're doing in the ordinary shares above. So we've got our market price of $1.80. To get our market value, we go our units, which we've got 5 million, we've already calculated, times by $1.80 equals 9 million. So that's our market price. Okay, there we go. Now, the next part is where I was just getting confused a little bit, is our RE, which is our cost that we need to calculate. Because it's not telling us what the cost is. They're not giving us that expected market return like they have with the ordinary shares. So in the question up the top, it is saying it's 10% preference shares of $2. So we know that our dividend is 0.20, 20 cents. And then our current market price is $1.80. So what we can do is to calculate our cost, we can go our div over market price, which equals 0.2 over 1.8, which equals 11.11%. Okay, so that's our cost there. Again, this is all based on prior learning, so you really need to understand that. Okay, so we filled out our table. That is the hard work that we have done. Now what we need to do is sum up all these, so which will then become the V, which is 58,815,739. Okay, then what we need to do now, so that there in essence is your V in the equation. And then what we're doing is we're now figuring out the weighting. So the weighting of the debentures is 20 million over 58 million. So that's 35.39%. Okay, then let's work all the way down. 8 million over 58 is 13.6%. Then we work down our way down, 21 over 58, which is 35.71%, and the one after is, oh sorry, no, that's correct. And then we've got 15.3% here. Okay, so now we've got that, we've just got to calculate our WACC. So that's when we go 35 times by 7%, which is going to go 0.024773, and let's work all the way down, 0.007888. A lot of numbers here, you probably only need to go to 4 decimal places. 0.046423 and 0.016983. Then in order to calculate our WACC, we sum up all of those, which is 0.096067, which equals, if we convert that to a percentage, it's 9.6%. Done. That's our answer, WACC of 9.6%. And that's all you need to do for the question. So this actual formula is not hard. It's just the inputs that are within it and understanding how to do it, because it's all based off prior learnings within this unit. So that's our question. That is something you could definitely expect to see in the exam, and I hope that helps. Thank you.